So, I gotta tell you a story. Uh, Driving my car, it's a standard transmission. I'll explain what that is to you younger kids. You have automatic transmission. You just shift the gear stick into drive, and then as your car goes faster and faster, the engine needs a bigger and bigger gear to maintain the speed at which it turns the wheels of the car. Putting it very simply, kind of like if you ride a 10-speed bike, if you stay in the first gear, you gotta shift up. That's the exact same thing that happens in your car. Now, I start driving the car around, and all of a sudden, it starts slowly going into gear at a stoplight. So I'm at stop, clutch is in, I'm in first gear, but the clutch is engaged. So it's not like engaging. The car shouldn't be going forward. Starts lurching a little bit if I let up off the brake. I'm like, it's trying to engage. The clutch is trying to engage. And then it kills on me. Like with the brake on and no gas and without the clutch, it engages, but it kills because I'm not giving it enough gas. I'm like, oh, there's something wrong with my transmission or something wrong with my clutch. So I go to the store, the auto shop, and I've never ran into any problem like this. I cannot fix transmissions. That's a whole other new super league of superhero of auto mechanics that can fix that. And these guys like, well, give it a shot. And a whole day goes by. I don't hear anything from them. And then I stop in like 10 minutes before they close. They're like, we don't know what it is. We tighten the clutch cable. That might fix it. Drive it on, let us know what happens. Drive it back home, does the same thing. I'm like, okay, it wasn't the clutch cable. So now I'm pissed. I got to deal, and I only have one vehicle out here. I do have a motorcycle out here, but it's cold. This has been one of the coldest winters in Vegas because it's global warming. Of course it is. Okay, Tina, when you're sophomore in high school is going to save the planet. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica Christ. Thank you. So I'm kind of upset because, I want to drive people around. I want to get groceries, things like cars, very important to have. And I didn't know it at the time, but I sat and I thought about it. I'm driving around. I'm like, this only kills when I'm at a stoplight. It only happens when I'm stopped or in first gear. So I'm thinking, well, what if I never use first gear? Which again, I don't want to explain too much to you young people about standard transmission. But whereas the car automatically does all the shifting for you, a standard transmission stick, you do the shifting. So I'm like, well, this is where it's helpful to have a standard transmission because you can push start them, you get a little bit more control over the car, especially if it's broken. I'm like, well, maybe I just don't use first gear. And so you could start a car in second gear. You could get it going. You got to nurse the clutch a little bit more, give it a little bit more gas, let the clutch out a little bit easier. But I started in second gear. I've been driving around 3 days just fine, which presents to me a quandary, a question, a paradox. This is a piece of crap car. This car I bought salvaged, but it does only have 70,000 miles on it. And I'm sitting here thinking, do I even need first gear? Do I need to take it? Because they said come back if it doesn't work. I'm like, all right. But transmissions, I don't know a transmission fix that's cheap. I really don't. So unless it's like new grease or gearbox fluid, I don't know what the cheap fix is going to be. But I know first gear is effed. But I'm thinking, do you really need first gear? I've been doing okay with second. There's at least another 70,000 miles on this car. And because I had a car like this where you couldn't get in on the passenger side. I had to open the door from the inside because the outdoor handle was screwed up. And I also had a car, what was it? Well, one car, the door wouldn't even open, but that was in Wyoming. That was a true piece of crap. I had manual blinkers for the longest time on the gutless Cutlass 85 Cutlass Supreme, beautiful car. I had to do manual blinkers because I didn't switch it out. I've nursed cars along, and I'm thinking, what if for old time's sake? What if for old time's sake, and solely to piss off modern life John? Where, yeah, could I afford a new? I could afford a new transmission. I could even get a new car, not a new car, but like a new used car. But what if I just held to my principles, held to my Cappy Catbite quarter Jewish, traditional, get by on as little as possible standards as an ode to my younger self, to like a monk, what is it? Not Lent. What do you call it? Where you fast, where you endure an unnecessary pain, so you appreciate. What if I just continue driving this car for the next 5 to 8 years without first gear? And even if the fix was like $1,000 or whatever, what if I just saved the thousand? What if I don't go to the auto repair place to say, yeah, it ain't working. Here it is again. What if I just nah, let's see if I could do this for the next 7 to 8 years. What if I could make it? Oh, stop. There we go. What if I could make it to 55, 56 years old driving this car without a first gear? So I just want to point that out to modern life, John. I'm I am contemplating this. I got here. Oh, she need fix the damn thing. What if second gear goes out? What then? Well, then, then I could probably start it in first gear, skip second, get to third, then I nurse it to the mechanic shop, and then I just, hey, we need a new transmission. That's but don't worry, you can push it. You get AAA. I mean, that's like admission of defeat with the standard vehicle is if you got to get it towed. Because one of the main I learned very on when I was young, like 18 years old. Okay, here's another one. The alternator went out on a Ford Escort I had long ago, so I'd make sure to park it on top of a hill, and I just push start it. I couldn't afford the what was it, $250, $300 for a new alternator. Oh, good times. Nick, yeah, why don't you shoot me an email? Yeah, see what your uncle thinks it is. It's very unique. Because I'm like, man, I never had that happen. Or at least there's like transmission fluid, something to tell. But I was like, oh, this is weird. All right, there you go. We'll see you kids later. Toodles.